News. It's time now to review headlines from today's newspapers with the Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. KK, good morning.
Good morning, Adifemi.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Komolafe.
Good morning. How are you guys today?
Welcome for the Sunday Tonic.
Sunday Tonic indeed.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we start as always with This Day, the newspaper of records. This Day on Sunday, where we have the lead story. PDP chair, Northern Caucus considers consensus as Mark Lamido shoot ahead. The riders say Aliyu, others seek to join race. Atiku Saraki's groups move to take control of party machinery. Southern leaders zone other offices. Sale of forms for offices commences tomorrow. On top of that lead story, which is, as KK will tell us later, is still about, the shenanigans of who will chair the PDP later this month. So on top of that story, again, Buhari vows to eliminate insurgents, bandits, kidnappers. Army to court-martial 158 officers, soldiers in Northeast. Bandits kill 22 persons in attack in Sokoto Market. That story continues on page 8. Not a cherry one, even though there are promises, as always, from Mr. President. On the window, the story that runs through page 5 says Oshibajo, defunding gas projects unhelpful to developing countries. Security, maintenance of Nigeria's oil pipelines, gob 32.558 billion naira in 8 months. And on the strip, Nigeria withholds assent as 136 countries ratify 15% corporate tax. That you will find on page 5. Last but not the least is the story on COVID-19. Travel restrictions ease as US, UK, France adopt WHO's approved vaccination. Those are the key stories on the cover of This Day, KK. But I think we should have a quick look at the This Day style. And Oji has a special interest on the cover of the. Is this about? Is it about Mr. Kunle Afolayan?
Can we pull up This Day style? Who is on the cover of This Day style? Drum roll, your friend.
Is that?
This is the popular filmmaker and crusader. They call him. Kunle Afolayan. He's a renowned filmmaker. He's been in the Nollywood industry now for almost 2 decades, I believe.
Yes.
His father obviously was a veteran, Nollywood. And I believe he was celebrating his birthday or something.
Well, he actually had a 4-in-1 kind of celebration last week, 30th of September. It was his birthday, but I think that was the least of it all. More importantly, he opened a hub in the heart of Ikeja. You know, on the island where you guys are, you enjoy so many things which Ikeja does not have. So what Kunle has done is to, if you like, give Ikeja its own kind of ebony life, Otera culture. Yeah. It's a hub. There's a cinema in there. There's a restaurant, Afolayan restaurant and bar. His own company is also there. Different things. And then there will be a big announcement tomorrow, which I don't want to discuss now, but you know that it's a big stuff between Kunle Afolayan's CAP Film and TV Academy and MasterCard Foundation of Canada.
That's
I'll lay that
with Have you guys seen the trailer for Swallow, which is his latest movie?
Exactly, and there was also the screening of Swallow. Because it made its debut on Netflix as a Netflix original on the 1st of October. So he had a big celebration.
Steve, you're smiling too much.
He's proud of it.
You brought me to this.
He's
we should allow KK to do
it. Well done. Well done on that analysis.
Thank you.
Great news indeed.
Yes. All right. So KK,
congratulations to being on
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. Mr. Komolafe, who would you like to start with?
Perhaps it's good to start with the good news.
Yes.
That travelers to the US, to
COVID-19
restrictions, are being eased. Since those countries have approved, they have adopted the WHO approved vaccines. So those who are the vaccinated, with appropriate vaccines, will have less trouble going to the US and UK, France, and perhaps other countries. The lead story of this day today is, again, it speaks to what we call the political development that we have. Because we are talking of parties trying to build their structures, to cement their internal democracy. So it's important because for liberal democracy, you need strong parties, to be on the field, as major players, And particularly, in our context, it is important that you have strong parties. If a party is in power, then the other parties also should be, so that you have competition, you have, multiplicity, or perspectives, about national development. The PDP, this there that you have the front runners, being the former Senate President David Mark, and former Governor of Jigawa State and former Foreign Minister, Alhaji Sule Lamido. As front runners, I think they are strong indeed. Since 1999, Senator David Mark, has, been part of the process, and presided over the National Assembly, for, continuous 8 years, as a senator, as Senate President. Governor Sule Lamido, Alhaji Sule Lamido, remember, he was actually the National Secretary of the Social Democratic Party. That is the party that produced, presented M.K. Abiola for the 1993 election. Before then, he's also been a legislator in the national, in the Second Republic. He was in the National Assembly, as a member of House of Representatives, on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. So when you are talking of somebody with a political tradition, but party people who know about parties, I think the PDP appear to be putting up some of his best. All who can watch it well, because if you relate the lead story of this day with that of Daily Trust, you see the essence of what we're talking about, that there is need to pay attention to political development, and why we focus on socio-economic development, because the process of galvanizing the national energies for socio-economic development is to have a strong government in place, and you will not be able to have a strong government in place if you don't have solid political parties that could be the veritable platform for this for the government to emerge. Because the least story of Daily Trust, for instance, is saying that as the build-up towards the 2023 election continues, that voter apathy has been a major problem. Since 1999, the highest in terms of turnout that we had was in 2003, about 69.3%, and that was a rise from, in 1999 we had 52% turnout. But the increase that we had in 2003 dropped in 2007 to 57.4. It further dropped again in 2011, to 40%. It peaked again with the election of President Buhari in 2015 to 44. Again, the worst on record is 2019, which is just 33%.
Wow.
So, we're in a situation whereby you have just 33 out of 100 Nigerians who are interested in voting. That, again, does not suggest that we're having political development.
100 eligible voters.
Yes, eligible. Yes, eligible.
That was what Adefebi spoke about, with the INEC gentleman about voter apathy.
Yes, voter apathy. So what I'm saying is that in itself is a symptom, of a Malian in the polity, and that is that of political underdevelopment. because people should be interested. Because I mean, if a government is voted in place, that government is supposed to be representing the people. Supposed to be carrying the mandate of the people. So we should also worry about the quality of this mandate. We should worry about the legitimacy of it. In this sense, legitimacy is different from legality. So even if you have just only 10%, coming out, then the government that is in place is legally, put in place. But can you say it is legitimate? When you don't have majority of the eligible voters, actually being interested. The other story, that should interest us on the front page of this day is the outing of Vice President, Nigeria in the climate change conference, And I think he spoke not just for Nigeria, but for the developing countries, that yes, it is legitimate, for Nigeria to join the train of the energy transition to renewable, the transition to renewable energy, the energy transition is a legitimate one, and it's an imperative that no country can live in denial of it. But in doing so, that we just have to be pragmatic, or if you like, you have to be sufficiently dialectical, because there's a contradiction here. Yes, the poor countries like, the developing countries rather, like Nigeria, in terms of the responsibility for carbon emission, we are the least guilty, Meanwhile, we have the huge challenges of, industrialization, employment, or even the provision of energy, for sufficient provision of energy, in running the economy. We have not had it. So when developed countries are now championing the cause of defunding gas projects, as part of the move, to enhance the energy transition, I think the Vice President made a very legitimate argument for equity and justice, that process of transition itself should be just and should be equitable, and that is to take into consideration the position and the state of development of the other countries. I think these are important points to.
Absolutely, I think lots of people forget that while we can agree that green energy or sustainable energy is a good thing, but a lot of the countries who have spearheaded these mandates have been able to industrialize their own countries off the back of fossil fuels and the like. So it's ironic and a little unfair and disingenuous that you don't want African and developing countries to do the same in the name of, climate change and the like. But what can we do?
Yes.
Over to you. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Rise News. We're still joined by This Day Newspapers Limited Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe, KK. Thank you for staying with us.
Sir,
what did I say? No, listen, I love it.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
also it's AA. So
okay.
It's KK. I like the alliteration.
Well,
that's what it is. I've got you, KK. I've got you.
Thank you, Adefemi.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Well, moving on to the Sunday Punch.
Yeah.
A story that jumps out at a lot of us, definitely me, was the dollar scarcity story. And foreign airlines are being forced, according to the Punch, to slash their ticket sales on Nigerian routes. Carriers, they say, are unable to repatriate over $144 million worth of revenue as the central bank rations Forex. Airlines have also planned ticket sales in dollars, and central bank has mulled a probe. Well, we need Forex to maintain planes and run operations, say the airlines. So that's one story we'll definitely be discussing. To the top there, a story that dominated the news early on this week was the 2022 budget. Buhari is to spend 12.5 billion naira on a presidential air fleet. The national carrier gets 400... Sorry, I almost laughed. The national carrier gets 400 million naira allocation despite its failure to take off, literally. The federal government has also appropriated 20 billion naira for a second Abuja airport runway. Successionist group says Alawo Akala wouldn't emerge if Jonathan's confab report was implemented.
Alawo Akala.
says Alawo Akala, pages 12 and 13. To the left part of the Punch, lawmakers are opposing e-voting for self-interest, says Jega. Still on the topic of politics, the PDP screening committee to shortlist 3 chair aspirants on Wednesday. Boko Haram, an army to court-martial 158 soldiers over indiscipline and inefficiency. To the bottom there, the Southeast crisis, 175 soldiers, cops and others have been killed in 72 attacks. 48 police station INEC offices burned. 700 people have been arrested in Ebonyi. 12.5 kilograms worth of cooking gas may sell for 10,000 naira by December, says marketers. And finally, Boko Haram seized them as teenagers and turned them into Shekau's fighters and mechanics for over 7 years, says escaped members.
I think the Alawakala story, maybe you need to, with KK Will, you need to pick that again, because it's actually the former governor of Oyo State who is saying that secessionist groups wouldn't emerge if Jonathan's confab report had been implemented. So that it doesn't look like it is Alawakala.
That's saying it.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
All right, KK.
Yeah. Yes, I think the clarification is not that. The former governor of Oyo State, Alawakala, saying that if the 2014 political confab report had been implemented, that perhaps we would not be having the separatist agitation that we're having now. Now, the lead story of Punch, again, raises, or if you like, accentuates the dollar question in the Nigerian economy. You know, that is that increasingly dollar is at the heart of Nigerian economy, or what some critics will call the dollarization of the economy. Yes, while we should sympathize with the carriers, who are having difficulties in repatriating, their earnings, according to the law, but then the step being taken by the central bank, should be underlined and should be supported, and that is that, yes, there may be, technical problems, but that cannot be a justification for some airlines now saying that people should pay for tickets in dollar. The legal tender in Nigeria is naira.
It's naira. Transactions
in Nigeria, according to the law, are supposed to be conducted in naira. Yes. In the UK, as a different can attest, you cannot conduct business there even in dollars or in German mark. So I think people should not just only respect the sanctity and integrity of our country, but also don't take steps that can further inflict inflict pains and wounds on the economy, because you do that only in an economy that already suffers from a meltdown. When the financial system suffers a meltdown, then it becomes you say that the currency becomes worthless. That is when you resort to a foreign currency for transaction. And I dare say, yes, we're having difficulties economically. But I don't think that Nigeria is at the stage of a meltdown where foreign companies will now decide which currency on which currency to transact business. So I think it is proper, that the central bank, has reportedly launched a probe into it, and I think as the monetary authority, should be very firm, and should move swiftly, to stop it. Otherwise, it becomes a culture, and if it becomes a culture, then it becomes a case of, the effect, becomes, a cause. The symptoms, becomes another cause of, of the disease, that's quite unhealthy.
Mr. Komolafe, yes. I wanted you to touch on, before we go, the 2022 budget, where that story says Buhari to spend 12.5 billion on presidential air fleet. I just wanted you to analyze that. It also ties into another story on this day. Trust, despite the high budget deficit, Buhari proposes 5.23 billion to renovate the villa. Please, can you analyze
just in a few seconds because of time.
Yes, I think that is surprising, because I remember when in 2015, during the campaign, I think the promise then was even that the presidential fleet, would be reduced, because I remember the president being quoted as saying that
the campaign.
Yes, why should you have such a fleet, when you are not running an airline, yes, I think is a thing to worry about, especially at a time when we are saying that we are having a fiscal crunch. So I also think that we should also just, however brave it may be, to underline the other story on the front page of Punch, and that is not giving figures into the level of bloodletting in the southeast. Yes, in the states of Enugu, Anambra, Abia, Imo, and Ebonyi, that in just 6 months, about 175 persons, have been killed, including soldiers, these men under security, other security agencies, while public properties have been destroyed, police station, INEC offices, prisons have been attacked. So this is the story actually demonstrates that what we're having in the situation in the southeast is quite a grave one, and the security agencies, and other stakeholders should move, to stem the tide of violence.
Okay, thank you. In just the last 1 minute that we've got, there's a poser for the president
on the
Sunday
cover Independent
of Sunday Independent. Name terror sponsors or be silent. Nigerians tell Buhari to name or not to name.
Yes, I will even strengthen the poser that it's not just to name, because we're talking of crime in this, is that it will be prosecuted,
Absolutely.
That the law should take its course,
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we'll continue to fuel the reign of impunity. It is when crimes are not punished that you have the generation.
The president mentioned, at the National Assembly.
They should be named and they should be prosecuted according to law. Yeah.
Mr. Kunle, always a delight to join us on our Sunday Tonic program.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you for watching. I'm Steve Ayoride.
I'm Adefemi Akinsanya.
And I am Oji Okpe from our entire team here in Lagos, Nigeria. Enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.